class. So today we're going to learn about fractions, specifically adding fractions. And we are going to add fractions by using two different kinds of models. Our first model is going to be a set model, which will be our fraction circle. And then our second model will be strip diagrams, which will be a linear model. All right, so before we start on our problem, let's just go ahead and review what fractions are. So I'm just going to use the example of 3/5. So what is a 3? The 3 is called the numerator. And the 5 would be called the denominator. So we also know about fractions is that it is parts of a whole. And when we look at 3/5, we know it's 3/5, 3 out of 5. So let's just go ahead and use an example problem. 3/5 plus 2/5 equals, well, this is where some people run into some issues. One thing that people tend to do when they're adding fractions is they like to add not just the numerator, but they'll add the denominator as well. And what would that make? That would make 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 5 is 10, 5/10. And that doesn't make sense, does it? Why would our fraction be smaller than these two fractions? Why would our sum be smaller than these two fractions? So that is incorrect. What we need to do is keep our denominator, our whole, and add the numerators only. So that equals 5 out of 5. And 5/5, because they're the same number, when the numerator and the denominator are the same number, they always equal 1, because 5/5 is a complete whole. So now that we've done a little bit of a review, let's go ahead and work on our problem. Johnny lives 5/8 of a mile away from school. Sally lives 2/8 of a mile away from Johnny. How far away does Sally live from school? Well, let's just take a look at this problem. Johnny lives 5/8 of a mile away from school, and Sally lives 2/8 of a mile away from Johnny. What would be the best way to figure out how far Sally lives away from school? We would add the 2/8 of a mile that she lives away from Johnny to the 5/8 of a mile that he lives away from school. So that would make, let's go ahead and write down our information that we have. So Johnny is going to be green, and he'll be 5/8. Sally is 2/8 of a mile away from Johnny. So let's go ahead and write out what our problem would look like. 5/8 plus 2/8 equals, well, let's go ahead and use our set model. Let's use our fraction circle to figure this one out. So remember, Johnny is green. And when we look at this fraction circle, we see that there are 8 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to go ahead and shade in 5 out of these 8 for Johnny. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5/8 represents Johnny. All right, so let's go ahead and shade in Sally's portion. And Sally is 2/8. That means that we would shade in 2. 1, 2. So let's go ahead and count how many we shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we found out our answer. It is 7/8. if we added one more, what would we have? 8/8, which would be one whole, which would be our whole circle. So let's try this problem with our our linear model, which would be our strip diagram. So I have my one whole here as my frame of reference, and I'm going to go ahead and use these 1/8 to count out how many we need. So Johnny is 5/8 of a mile. So how many are we going to count out? 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5/8 represents Johnny. So let's go ahead and add Sally's portion. So Sally has 2/8, so we're going to have 2. 1, 2. Now, we almost made a whole, but not quite. Let's go ahead and count out how many 8s we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7/8. And if we were to add this last 1/8 here, what would that make? 8/8, one whole. So let's just go ahead and take a look at our problem one more time. Johnny lives 5/8 of a mile away from school. Sally lives 2/8 of a mile away from Johnny. How far away does Sally live from school? Well, we learned that 5/8, which is how far away Johnny lives from school, and 2/8, which is how far away Sally lives from Johnny, if we add those together, we get 7/8. Thank you.